How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another Starfield video. Yes, I know the Starfield news is coming thick and fast and we have a lot to get through. The Q&A was actually today, so here is a video. I was supposed to maybe try and sneak in a live stream, but I got so busy I just couldn't make it in time. But we do have the whole Q&A here. Now, obviously, as you can see, these are not in numbered order, but there is 16 of them, so we will be going through these questions in not chronological order, but we're going to go through each and every one of them, and hopefully the answers will be pretty cool, at least enlightening, and give us more insight into Starfield. So as you can see here, Will, lead quest designer, and Emil, lead designer, are here to answer your questions. And here's the 16 questions that we've got. So we're going to start with question 3 first. For those of you who have never played a Bethesda Game Studios game and will start with Starfield, what information should we know that will make the experience more impactful right from the start? How deep should we go into creating our character's backstory before we start the game? Emil says, well, we always make our games for fans, both old and new, so you can jump in without fear having played a Bethesda title before, which is pretty cool. Will Shen says, while we do start you off in the same spot, what happened to you before the game starts is totally up to you and your head canon. Emil continues, but we like to look at it less as playing a game and more about living in the universe we created. So settle in, go at your own pace, and pretty soon you'll learn all the systems and the adventuring through the settled systems the way you choose. Will Shen adds, there is a trait and background system that will let you specify more about yourself, but you can also select an anonymous background and no traits if you want. In terms of if you've never played a Bethesda Game Studio game before, try anything. We're a simulation as well as a role-playing game, so we try to support the player doing what they want as much as we can. As for going into the character's backstory, that's entirely up to you. I'm all about the headcanon. For example, my latest character is a working schlub named Mitch Dabrowski. He's a husky, good-natured space trucker. While he'll do whatever he needs to defend himself, he'll never shoot first. He's like Han Solo's sweeter older brother, and yes, there are traits and backgrounds that support that kind of thing. That's pretty that's really cool. I like that. I really like that. Next question. How will the smuggling cargo system work? Can we hide it somewhere on the ship and sell it for more currency later? Certain items are considered contraband and you'll need to smuggle them past security ships that are in orbit of major settlements. There are specific items that are considered contraband, meaning they're pretty much illegal everywhere. And yes, you can hide from them from using special ship modules you can purchase, so you know what? Don't get caught with those harvested organs. The economy is fixed, but prices of bought and sold goods can change based on the skills you choose. So there's no item that will gain more rarity or things like that, which is a little bit sad, I guess, because, you know, going out and trying to smuggle in some of the more dangerous stuff would have been kind of cool, but there is no economy in that sense. It is fixed, but skills you choose and traits can determine the price and value that you get. What books or movies had a big influence on some of the quests? Will said, I'm a history nerd, so I actually listen to a lot of podcasts like Hardcore History and the History of Rome. Emil, well, I'm a child of the late 70s, early 80s, and I have very fond memories of the sci-fi of that time. So let me think. Will continues, while our game is science fiction, I like how historians can tell you about how human beings react to extreme circumstances, like war, famine, technological breakthroughs, and you can imagine how we'd react to similar circumstances in a fictional setting, just as to a grander scale. Emil finally comes in, Star Wars, OG Battlestar, Galactica, Space 1999, Buck Rogers, Battle Beyond the Stars, Ice Pirates, this dude's my hero. And let's not forget the classic that is Metal Storm, The Destruction of Jared Sin. I think I actually saw that one in 3D, but also much headier sci-fi stuff like Writing of Arthur C. Clarke and Robert Heinlein, or films like Contact, Interstellar 2001: A Space Odyssey, and even Event Horizon. I'm telling you, this guy's my hero. In all of those examples, you realize that outer space is two things. One, a source of mystery and wonder, sometimes terror, and two, a giant blank page which you can write any story, and we have written a lot of very different stories in Starfield. Next question. What are some favorite small details in Starfield to add to the immersion? Emil says, I think what I really love is that although humans are living in space, our aesthetic is very much NASA punk. This is a very lived-in universe and you can see it everywhere. Will adds, I look really closely at all our outfits. You can see seams, materials, especially on the spacesuits. Constellation members have patches on their spacesuits and they're tied to what skills they have. Emil adds, you know everyone loves the sandwiches, but it's the books that are lying around, the notes on bulletin boards, the environmental storytelling that our level designers and world artists are so good at. We also love buttons. There's there's a lot of buttons. Emil finally adds, so I'm a slow typer and somewhat typo obsessed. Totally love the work from our voice actors too, typo, and the music and sound effects and clothes, lol. Buttons, we do love our buttons. Oh, I do want to mention this. If you haven't heard about it, Adam Savage and team are building a filming model of the Frontier. I'll have a link to this in the description because it's really cool. It's an ongoing project that will last for about 6 to 8 weeks, but it's really, really nice and they're going to be documenting their progress weekly. So definitely worth keeping an eye on. And that ship, man, and all the ships, the level of detail is insane. Next question. What are the beliefs and basic history of the religions we can join? Sanctum Universum, Enlightened, Great Serpent. Okay, so this one. Yeah, says, well, Emil comes back. Existing in real life religions are part of the Starfield universe, with folks of all religions and denominations out there. But we don't really focus on them. Instead, we highlight 3 new ones specific to the game. So it looks like standard religions are in there, but they're not really going to play a big role. They want the fictitious ones to stand out. The Sanctum, which is a smart move if you ask me. The Sanctum Universum is only a couple of decades old in our timeline, but has gained a lot of prominence. They believe that God is out there, somewhere in the universe, and that humanity's ability to travel the stars brings us closer to God. Emil adds, Sanctum Universum, the members called Universals, believe that God very much exists somewhere in the universe, that a higher power is guiding us all. Specifically, they believe that humanity's ability to travel the universe and grav jump is God's way of saying, I'm out here, come find me. Will then moves on to the Enlightened by saying the Enlightened are an atheist group that focuses on humanitarian and community work. They believe that life is something every person has to take responsibility for, so that if we want the world to be a better place, we have to do it. The Enlightened, Emil says, these folks are essentially organized atheists. They don't believe in any kind of higher power, rather they teach that human beings have to take care of each other. And they practice what they preach through various community outreach programs. House Varun, oh boy. So in the game, you're not really sure what the complete truth is, but the gossip among the guards is this. A colony ship sets off for a new world, making grav jumps along the way. After one of the grav jumps, one of the passengers claims he spent that time communing with a celestial entity known as the Great Serpent. What was a few seconds for everyone else was much longer for him, and he brought back a mandate, which is basically get on board or be devoured when the Great Serpent encircles the universe. Is it true? I ain't saying. So in the game, you sometimes face off against House Varun's zealots as an enemy group, and that's their motivation. I recently got the House Varun logo tattooed on my wrist, so yeah, I dig them. That's pretty much all there is for that. We move on to the next question. I actually quite like that, by the way. I like the fact that there's a lot of mystery involved in these and really good backstory. I mean, Bethesda Game Studios was always known for their backstories, but that is pretty special. Next question. A really short one. Will there be a jail system if we committed crimes? Will says yes. You can elect to go to jail or pay a fine when you're arrested, or even resist arrest and try to escape. Hopefully, the police will be pretty on point to try and stop you. Emil says, yep, the settled systems is more like Skyrim than Fallout 4's Commonwealth in that regard. You're a bunch of criminals. There's civilization, there's government, and there are outlaws. And there are laws. There's civilization, there's government, and there are laws. And in a couple of cases, we actually explore the themes of crime and punishment in our futuristic universe. Pretty cool stuff if you ask me. Alright, we're coming to our last set of questions now. Can you be a double agent in the game? For example, if you join the United Colonies, can you also join the Crimson Fleet and give the United Colonies information? And what factions have that feature if they do? All of the playable factions can be completed independently, says Will. Emil, that is exactly what you can do. Infiltrate the Crimson Fleet for UC SysDef. It's specific to that questline. So yeah, as I was saying in my previous video, for the United Colonies, you can actually infiltrate the Crimson Fleet as a spy. But I think that's going to be the only faction that actually has that. The Crimson Fleet storyline does feature you being an undercover agent inside the fleet on behalf of UC's SysDef, a special military branch of the United Colonies. But whether you betray the fleet or the UC SysDef is a choice you will have to make. Emil then follows up with saying, in the studio, I have been half-jokingly accused of referencing movies that some folks have never seen because I'm old. So with this particular plotline, the inspiration was very much the movie Donnie Brasco. That's actually a really good movie, which is the true story of an FBI agent who infiltrates the mafia. How far will you go? Next question. What are your favorite parts of the game? Emil, shipping it. But seriously, folks. Will says, I love finding content that I haven't seen yet or forgot about, or games are so big that no one person is likely to have seen it all, even after all our passes and levels of review. I can attest to this, especially on some of the more bigger games that I used to QA when I used to work for Sega and stuff. You always, if you go exploring once you get the game after you finish QAing, there's always that chance that you're going to see something new, and when you do, it's really refreshing. Emil says, because of my position, my experience is a little different than yours. I won't speak for Will, but personally, I've seen every questline, every city, every major piece of content in the game at every stage of development. So my answer is colored by that. For me, the real pleasure is seeing how they've all evolved into the versions they are today, the versions everyone will play. I have a real soft spot for Neon. Getting that city nailed down took a lot of work by a lot of different people, and the end result is really the cyberpunk settlement I always hoped it would be. I also love all the quest lines. I think they're the best we've ever done. The designers on this project totally killed it. Wilf ends it by saying, our quests really evolve our development, and it's great to see how everyone adds to them. Designers, animators, voice actors, lighting, everything. Question 8. Oh, now we've got to the bottom. Depending on the traits selected during character creation, will it at all be possible to play through the game in a pacifist mode without killing anyone or even potentially anything? Will says, I can't guarantee every mission can be completed in pacifist mode, but we do have a couple of systems that will help. Emil follows up by saying, so we talked about this very early on during pre-production, whether or not we would fully support a non-lethal playthrough. We realized that for various reasons that wasn't totally feasible. Will continues, one system is our speech challenge game where you can persuade someone to do something like not fight you. Emil continues, now that being said, there are some good non-lethal options, whether through dialogue or by using a non-lethal weapon. Those can be used in certain situations. Honestly, a lot of situations, though I couldn't comfortably say you can complete the entire game without any killing whatsoever. The settled system is mostly civilized, but it can be a dangerous place if you're going off the beaten path. And you're probably going to go off the beaten path. Wilshen says, finally, the speech challenge game is added in specific scripted moments, and we try to add one into most quests where important characters confront you. I think that's pretty cool. I know people like to do these really, really crazy challenges, but in a game like this, I can see where certain situations you just won't be able to get away with the pacifist approach. Definitely possible to do, just, I guess, it didn't fit their design choice. Will time pass when not in game? For example, will my trade routes, outposts, and mining operations continue to produce, or does that only occur while actively playing? Emil says, the sim only runs when you're actively playing, no sleeping on the job. Will confirms, only when actively playing. So there's no AFK stuff, you have to be in game. How many companions total will we be able to recruit? There are over 20 named characters who can join your crew, says Will. Emil then continues, over 20 total, and we really focused on the members of Constellation. What Will said. Will then follows, 4 of them are from Constellation and have the most story and interaction with the player, but all of the named characters have their own backgrounds and can follow you around and carry your stuff. They're carrying my stuff. Emil continues, when we first began Starfield pre-production, we looked back at our previous games and realized how popular and effective the companions were. So they were a big priority for us, and we really wanted to tie them directly to the main quest. There are some really big moments with them specifically. I should also mention that our companion voice cast is amazing. We haven't released the list yet, but you can be sure there are a lot of talented actors bringing those characters to life. Same for Constellation in general. Next question turns out to be the very first question. Can we buy houses or property in main cities? I know a lot of you would probably want to know the answer to this because we all like to have our own property. Will says yes, there's housing in different cities that the player can get. Some you have to purchase and some are rewards for specific quests. Emil follows that up with sure can. You can purchase a dwelling in all the major cities in the game, and there's at least one that you get specifically for completing something. Now that's interesting. Now I want to know what that something is, and they don't tell you. I feel betrayed. When we assign crew members to work at outposts, do we have to pay them salaries? Emil says, you just pay them once. We actually experimented with paying them regular salaries, but ultimately decided to just have the one cost up front. Will continues, yep, one-time payment that you can use the speech challenge game to negotiate over. Some traits are also affect the cost. Emil finally says, there's a lot to do in Starfield, and we wanted to minimize what the player had to constantly keep track of, which makes sense. If we get the kid stuff trait, will our parents be generated based on how characters look, or are there standard parents put in place? What benefits might there be? Will says, our programmers on our new face tech were excited to make a function that could try to match your custom face and then create the two parents. So they are based on what your character looks like. Although the specific math involved is a bit beyond me. We had similar tech in our previous games. Emil continues, yes, totally. Just as we did in Fallout 3 with your dad and in Fallout 4 with your son, in Starfield, if you take the kid stuff trait, your parents are based off of you. No spoilers, but I think fans will really appreciate the actors who got to play those roles. And they just get so into it. It's awesome. Oh, and yeah, you can get stuff. Question 16. What is the history of the mechs? Really weird one, but apparently this question is really, really good because I caught the tail end of the question Q&A. Ooh, the mechs. Good one. So we showed this a bit in one of the animated shorts. The mechs are leftovers from the Colony Wars. Note, it's Colony War and not Colony Wars, singular. Both sides, United Colonies and Freestar Collective, had mechs, but the Freestar Collective really mastered them. The United Colonies had mechs too, but as they also relied on the controlled alien beasts from their Xeno Warfare division, both of those were outlawed with the armistice that ended the colony war. I'm not saying there's an old mech battleground in the game, I'm typing it. Mechs not usable. No, they're in ruins. Aww. Why no mechs? Why no mechs? We like mechs. Don't we like mechs, chat? We like mechs. We like mechs. Alright, final question. Will our companions be able to level their perks? Will their perks stack with ours? Will says, all crew start with a set of skills at specific ranks. Emil continues, they don't level up, but they come at different ranks depending on the companion. Will says, so you might meet a character that's specifically good at rifles, and you hire them to watch your back. Or you might meet an astrodynamics expert that will increase your grav jump range when assigned to your ship. Well, Emil says, we call them skills in Starfield, and they do stack with yours when relevant. Some are there for flavor, to highlight the companions' backgrounds and interests, but you'll really feel the benefit of the ship and combat related ones. Getting a boost to your shields, or seeing your companion laying down fire with a weapon they're proficient in, are pretty sweet moments. And that's the end of the questionnaire. There's some really good questions here and some really good answers. The skill stacking and the effect that normal characters, NPCs, will have depending on whether they're on your ship or walking around with you is pretty sweet. The housing is nice. The lack of mechs is not so good. I was kind of excited that we might actually find some mechs out in the wilderness, in the ruins, and be able to. But I'm hoping that we'll actually be able to, go out and find these ruins and just see the history of the colony war that took place and see the remnants of what's left and the after effects of that war, and what it meant to the terrain, to the world, to the planet it actually took part in, and how civilization is either still embroiled in it or moved on from it, or how they're still dealing with the aftermath that was the colony war, which is the latest war. So really, really cool stuff. I'm really excited to see where this is going. Starfield is 1st of September, preload tomorrow on console and maybe PC Game Pass. Steam is going to be on the 30th. I'm excited. What did you think of the Q&A? Let me know in the comment section below. Let's have that discussion. And if you made it this far, put down a hashtag Starfield in the comment section. And if you have enjoyed the content and have enjoyed the video, do leave a like and subscribe. We are trying to get maybe 100 likes for this video. Would be really cool. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Remain legend.